Today's exercise is related to creating constructors. So I'm going to look at a couple of classes which we'll create some constructors for. I'm going back to the game of nim. I've already posted some code for that, so I'm going to update this code to add some constructors to it. So I have two classes here, the piles, which is the piles of stones, and a move, which indicates which pile to take from and how many stones to take from it. So those are the two classes that I have. And I just have a little bit of test code here that allows me to test this code, or to actually show how it works. It's not a particularly thorough test. So right now what I've done is I've encapsulated the instance variables, so they're private for both the move and the piles, and I've provided a few setter methods so that we can set the data in there. So here I've got a little program that creates a move to take 2 stones from pile number 2. And so I'm creating a default set of piles, and notice that the default is set to 3, 4, and 5 stones for the 3 piles. So I take that and then I print the results. When I run that, I get the first pile remained at 3, the second one had 2 stones removed, and the third one was sitting at 5. Right, so this is a small program. I can change this a little bit. I can add one more test here. Piles P2, new piles, and let's say I don't want to stick with the default. I want to say P2 dot set pile 1 size, and let's set that one to 10. P2 dot set pile 2 size, and let's make that a 9, and P2 dot set pile 3 size, let's make this a 5. If I now say P2 dot take stones, and I'll just stick with the same move, taking 2 stones from pile 2, so that pile 2 size should have been reduced to 9, and let's print it before and after. I can compile these, and what I'm going to do is I just compile all 3 at the same time by doing javac star.java, and I will not see the difference. Let me make sure that I save this and compile it again and run. Alright, so indeed it took 2 stones from the second pile. Now one thing that is annoying is one thing that we're doing all the time when we're creating a pile of for a game of nim. We're setting the size once and then we're done, and we would really like to be able to do this at creation time. So I really don't need these setter methods. All I want to be able to do is just say, create me a set of piles, and the first set is 10, 9, and 5. That is the one that I want to create. So if I want to do that, I just have to create a constructor for that. And I'm going to do this by replacing the setter methods. This is not the only way to do this. You can have the setter methods and the constructor, but in this case I don't want to be able to set after creation. At creation time is when you set the pile sizes, and thereafter the only way that you change it is by taking stones. So I want to create a constructor. It has the same name as the class, and I need to take as argument the 3 sizes: pile size 1, pile 1 size, and pile 2 size, and in pile 3 size. And then I simply want to use those as arguments. Now I'm going to use the code that I already have. And in this case it's pile 1 size. If it's greater than that, then I'm going to set it to pile 1 size. Otherwise I'll just stick with the default. I'm going to do the same thing for number 2. So this is pile 2 size. If it's greater than 0, I'm going to set it to pile 2 size. And now for the third one, pile 3 size should be equal to pile 3 size. And that is the end of this method. So this is a much quicker way of creating these sizes. Now if I compile this, I'm going to get a problem. Alright, and I'm going to first comment out what that problem is. Let's take this here section out. Let's compile everything and run the test. So now nothing has really changed, but it was certainly a lot easier to write the code by just using a constructor to set the pile sizes, which was much more appropriate in this case. If I were to uncomment this, I'm now going to get a compile error. Notice that this here is complaining about the constructor. Piles in there cannot be applied to the given types, because in this case I have nothing provided here. And what it's looking for is 3 integer numbers. So if I want to be able to create a default and not have to specify it, then I have to create another constructor that does not take any arguments. And in this case I can just do nothing. Just use default values. So this is one way of doing this. And now it should compile and run. Alright, so one way of doing this by creating these 2 constructors. We can do a similar thing for the move, and I'll do this very quickly. We have these 2 setter methods, but really I'm only going to set it at creation time, so I really want to just be able to pass it. 2 is the pile number and 2 is the amount of stones, and then continue on with this. So instead of having these 2 setter methods, I would like to have a constructor. Public move int the pile number and int amount of stones. And again, I'm going to get rid of these setter methods and a pile number. Else, if it's past anything other than that, I can just say that pile number is set to 1, as I have here. Now do the same thing for the amount of stones. So again, I want to do this validation. If an amount of stones is greater than or equal to that, and an amount of stones is less than or equal to 3, and this should become an amount of stones, the argument that is passed in. Otherwise, I'm just going to default it to 1, and it's the end of the constructor. Alright, so this is just I want a capital O here and a capital O here. And the pile number, capital N and capital N. And run the test. And the test runs as before, but my code looks a lot cleaner by stating that I create a move with 2, 2, and I created a few piles. So just an example of creating constructors, which makes creation time a little bit less onerous or a little bit more automatic.